Terrific.
Go ahead.
Well, good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to the Presbyterian Women's Program Series. And you probably all know this by now, but anyway, I'm Julie McGrath, who's the PW Program Chair. And just want to call out to the rest of the committee, which includes Blair Tuning, Miranda Reynolds, Barbara Glenn, Neely Barnhart, and Susan Douglas Wingfield. So we've had a great time this year pulling together the different programs. So we've kind of focused in on two different themes this year. We've put together a lineup of speakers that we feel are particularly relevant in these times of major change in our lives. So one is stress in the world of COVID-19, and also to help us gain a deeper understanding of what it means to be an anti-racist. So again, this month, Miranda is going to be the, she's the chair of the day, and she's going to introduce our speakers in just a moment. And I just lost my, oh, well, here it does. Okay. So can you guys still see me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So regarding questions today, we're going to hold the speakers have asked for the questions to be given to them at the end of their discussion. So, but if you could keep your questions going in the chat room, I'm going to be scanning those and I'll ask those about 10 or 15 minutes before the end of their presentation. So just keep those flowing. And, you know, fellowship, we're always working on ways to try to increase our fellowship. You know, some of the things that we miss are luncheons and pre and post discussions. So just like we did last year, or last month, I should say, we are going to have a post program where Miranda is going to again be the facilitator, and she will maybe have a couple questions about what we hear today from our presenters. And also you can ask lots of questions or of each other and talk about what their talk really meant to you and how you felt about it and what it means to you. So we're gonna keep doing that. We got some really enthusiastic feedback last time, so I hope more and more of you come. We're delighted to have as many as we can, and I want to also just make sure that we thank Carolyn and Wilson for being our guides in the technology realm. We found this morning that it was critical that they were part of our team. And next month on January 5th, we're going to have a delightful opportunity to meet Kennedy George and Ava Holloway. They are the young school-age Black ballerinas who posed in front of the Robert E. Lee Memorial and monument, I should say. And I remember seeing their pictures on the front page of the Richmond Times-Dispatch and just being so moved by that and thought, we need to get them if we can. So they will be joining us, and so they'll be a special treat. So, and Neely's going to be our chair of the day next month. So with that, I will thank you again for coming, and Miranda, you can do the introductions.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Miranda Reynolds, and I have the pleasure of introducing today's speakers from Virginia Home for Boys and Girls. I first got involved with the Virginia Home for Boys and Girls, or VHBG, when I volunteered to help plan its annual fall fundraiser, band together a few years ago. It was during this planning period that I was invited to visit, to see the school, the grounds, and the homes. And it was then that I realized the truly remarkable and truly life-saving work that's happening right here on Broad Street. I'm excited to share these wonderful folks from Virginia Home for Boys and Girls with you today. Lionel Bacon, Vice President of Philanthropy, and Claiborne Warner, President and CEO. And I will let them take it from here.
I'll start off. First off, Miranda and just everybody involved that made it possible for Claiborne and I to be in front of you today sharing. Really just want to say thank you. We are in different times, and our organization is really taking some big and powerful and bold steps in healing kids and healing staff and healing the city and the world in general. we've been pretty bold about it. So I want to start kind of introducing the work of what we do. And we recently published or put together a video to show people who may not be able to get here to take a tour, or who have ever heard of us or seen us. Certainly if they're in Richmond, they've driven by our driveway, but we wanted to put together a video to kind of introduce our work. So we'll start with the video, and then we'll chime in from there. All right, ready with the video.
How did I get here? Well, it's a long story, but Virginia Home for Boys and Girls is a place for kids like me, and maybe you. Every kid I've met here has their own story, and they're all different. We do have something in common, and it's that we're looking for a forever home, or trying to go back to our families. I'm technically in foster care, but this is where I'm staying for now. I've had a lot of bad things happen to me in my life, and because of that, I have a hard time with my anger and other behaviors. I need to learn how to live in a family, so I'm here in a group home program. There are 4 homes here, boys' homes and girls' homes, and the staff here are helping me with my transition. They're not my family, but it sometimes can feel like it. The houses are really nice, nicer than any group home I've ever seen. Even my social worker says it's true. We have a large living room area where we watch TV or have family-like talks. The kitchen is always busy with someone cooking. I like to make my special chocolate chip cookies. The kitchen table is where we eat, but also where we plan and learn things. I'm learning to be accountable for my actions, and this is where I talk about what bothers me or gets me upset, and everyone helps me with that. I share a bedroom with someone, but it's a big room. Honestly, I don't keep it very neat, but I try. The entertainment room is awesome. We play games in here and sometimes make a lot of noise. We cook out on our patio. My favorite thing is grilling hot dogs. We've all got our own bikes. I love, love, love to ride. There's something like 30 acres around here, and we can ride our bikes in the courtyard or the street. I just feel better when I ride. This summer, we spent a lot of time swimming. The pool is just a short walk from my group home, and there's a garden right next to the pool where I planted flowers and vegetables. We had fun picking what we grew, and the boys in House 13 made a salad because of us. Most of the kids in my group home go to public school, and the school bus picks them up. Because I need extra help in school and I just have a rough time behaving, I'm going to the John G. Wood School, which is right across the street from the pool on campus. It takes me like a minute to walk there in the morning, and some of the other students in my class don't live here, so it's neat to make friends that I don't see all the time. I really want to go back to my public school, and I will eventually, but it's pretty cool here too. I don't take the wood shop class, but they make all kinds of wood projects and get something called CTE credits. Art class is my favorite. I didn't even know I liked doing art, at least not something I'd be proud of. I'm so good, I even have my art on the wall in my group home, and the teacher hung some of my artwork in the fellowship hall where lots of people see it. If I'm here next year, I'm going to get in the culinary arts program. I cook all the time, and I think I might like it as a career. They just remodeled the campus dining hall, so everything is brand new. I went on a tour and got excited about learning to use the kitchen equipment. I could get CTE credits for completing this program. The school has all the regular classes too. You know, math, English, history, science. Oh, we do a lot of outside learning in science class. We planted plants to attract butterflies, and that was really fun. But not everything or every day is all fun. I don't like going to our campus gym and watching our basketball team play against other schools. It's just not my thing. But we have an eagle mascot that's fun to watch, and it's a place for PE class when it's raining. I've played badminton in there, and it was fun. Like I said, I have stuff I have to work on. Sometimes I just feel awful. There's a therapeutic resource center here where I get counseling and therapy, and sometimes I see the psychiatrist on Fridays for the medicine I take. The nurse here is very sweet to me. I like her. We're located in an area that is close to things like shopping centers, museums, and a sports stadium. We also have taken trips to the mountains and the beach, and I look forward to going again. One of the guys in the group home next to mine turned 18. He's really excited because there's another program for him here. They call it an independent living arrangement. It's not a group home. It's a townhouse he's going to share with another guy. At his going away party, I was happy that he was happy he had a place to go where he felt comfortable. He's working and going to school, but he's going to come back and visit us and tell us all about living on his own. Honestly, I didn't want to come here, but now that I'm here, I'm starting to plan for the life I want to have. I'm really close to my youth counselor, and she says I'm working hard and deserve a bright future. I think I do too.
All right. Thank you for letting us show that video. We first produced it for use by our staff person who goes around and talks to the folks in the various counties around the state who refer children to our homes. We wanted to give them an idea of what VHBG was like and all the campus amenities. And we're so proud of our campus. It's just a beautiful 30-acre park-like setting behind the BMW dealership on West Broad Street. But we really had in mind giving children a chance to understand where they might be going. If you can imagine a scenario where a child has just been removed from their home because of abuse or neglect. They're sitting in the social services department with their social worker, and they're being told they're going to a group home. What does that mean? It's scary. We actually had a girl come to us. She had just come from court where her grandmother had given up custodial rights, and so she had no family who wanted her, and she was ordered to a group home by the judge. He sent her to Virginia Home for Boys and Girls, and she walked in there. It was her 16th birthday. She walked in the door. Our staff was ready to welcome her. They had gotten balloons and a birthday cake, and she walked in, and the first thing she said, she looked around and she said, this looks like a real home. And then she said, I thought I was scared. I thought I was coming somewhere where they were going to hurt me. And that's just, it breaks your heart. A lot of what we do and the stories of these children that we're exposed to day in and day out is heartbreaking. And it's tough work because of that. But on the other hand, it is so gratifying to know that the work that we're doing for the youth in our group homes, in our special education school, in our independent living program, and in our clinic, we're helping these kids see a path to a potential future. That's one thing that's common with all of the children that we serve who come from backgrounds where they've been traumatized and experienced abuse. They don't know what their future even could look like. So part of what we do, in addition to the healing and the coaching and the counseling, is help them envision and have hope for their future. So we've been doing, Virginia Home for Boys and Girls has been in existence for 175 years. It started as an orphanage back in 1846. And we have evolved and changed over the years to meet the demands of children and youth and families. One of the most recent examples of meeting demand was a few years ago when we opened the independent living program. That's for kids who age out of the foster care system without a permanent family. So we now can provide support services, a place to live, coaching and counseling, helping with independent living and life skills. That's new because there was such a need. Kids were literally just dropping off the cliff when they turned 18, and social services said, we're done with you. We also recently expanded that program to work with young adults, homeless young adults who are part of the LGBTQ community. So we now provide transitional housing for young adults who need a place to stay if they have been abandoned by their family or found themselves in other circumstances that left them homeless. So anyway, I know what we want to talk about today is really living, working, supporting diversity in our community and in our workplaces. So one of the things that's important to me and the folks on my leadership team, and Lionel is a key member of our team, is communication. So we have several different programs. We operate across, sprawling on a 30-acre campus. And it's important, I think, for our culture to be connected in a lot of ways, up and down and across the organization. And so one of the things that we did a number of years ago was made a suggestion box available to our staff. And my promise was at every quarterly all-staff meeting when we get together, I'll read whatever's in the suggestion box, no matter what it says. You can put something in there anonymously, you can ask questions, you can make suggestions. And about 2 years ago, I opened up the suggestion box and I pulled out a piece of paper and it said, I think VHBG needs diversity training. And I'm trying to remember exactly what my reaction was. I didn't see it coming. It just, I felt like we're a diverse organization. More than half of our staff are African-American. More than, or about half of the youth we serve are African-American. About 35% are white. We have Hispanic, we have Asian, we have mixed, biracial. So I thought, oh, we're a diverse organization. I was really wrong. Not that we weren't diverse, but what I didn't understand was that diversity is basically a statistic. It's the percentage of your population that falls into this category or that category. What was really important was that we focus on inclusivity and understanding. And I also I don't mean to say that we were not inclusive or not trying to understand, but we didn't focus on that with intention. So that was really the big shift, is to focus on that with intention. And so one of the first things we did, actually the very first thing I did was I called the woman who put the suggestion in the suggestion box. She happened to sign her name to it. And I said, please tell me, I need to know where this came from, and what I need to know what I need to know. And so we talked, and it was really great. And we the first thing we did was hire Virginia Center for Inclusive Communities, and had them come in and do an assessment. You can't just assume that because you're well-intentioned that everybody else has the same belief systems. So we did an assessment and we did some training, and it was all actually very, very helpful. And I think it's really helped our culture and brought us together, really, really focusing on how we can have difficult conversations with each other in order to create understanding, and having that willingness to identify the things that you don't know, ask questions. And it started within our leadership team. So we have about 9 or 10 people on our leadership team. It's a little smaller than. And as we talked about all of this, we started asking each other questions. And it was sometimes just the simple things that you might have felt uncomfortable asking before, but knowing that we had a very trusting relationship with each other, we were able to ask. And I'm not just talking about race, I'm talking about sexual identity and religion and age and gender. But I'll share a question I asked Lionel. And I would have been afraid to ask this because I would have felt really uncomfortable and not know if he would have been offended if I asked. But I said, Lionel, should I refer to people as African American or Black? Because I didn't know what was right or when I would be offending someone. And Lionel, you want to share your answer?
Absolutely. The first home run was for Claiborne to ask the question, which was what I said to her, was, ask people the question. My personal preference is I like to keep it simple, and I'm Black, my wife's white, my sons are biracial, and those are the kind of terms we use. But the big step is the comfort level to ask the question.
Yep. And I'm going to go back in time a little bit, but I'm going to jump forward too, that our leadership team continues to be very, very open. And I think it sets the tone. You know, culture starts at the top and has to be demonstrated by leadership. So our leadership team remains extremely open, honest, and trusting. I'll share another example. Our director of human resources is gay. He's been a wonderful help to us to understand perspectives of that, the folks who in the gay community who have felt very marginalized as other populations have. And that's the thing that we have to understand. And one day I was in a conversation and he was a part of the conversation, and it happened to be with a group of people, and we were discussing the LGBTQ population that we were serving. And Daryl had given me permission before that conversation to mention that as part of our leadership team, we have our HR director is gay, and I refer to him as a gay man. And later, he told me that because of how he identifies, that he would much rather, that made him sort of wince, and he would much rather be referred to as a gay person. And it's that kind of thing that you have to develop that level of trust that you can say, he could say that to me, the CEO, his boss, without me being offended. I thanked him for saying that to me. And others in our group have contributed to our team's cohesiveness and growing this culture. Lionel being one of the most important in that process. I am going to introduce another component of our journey in this world of diversity and inclusion. And it has to do with George Floyd. And I'm going to just tell you how we started in our discussions after that happened. And then Lionel, would you kind of pick up and talk from there about how we have managed through that as not just as a team, but as an organization. So everybody knows what happened on May 25th. It was a most horrific, seen on TV murder of a Black man. And it shook all of us. It was a couple of days later, we at the time in May were having daily 9 o'clock leadership team Zooms, doing our COVID check-in because most of us had been working from home. And so a couple of days after that, on the leadership team Zoom, I said, have you guys been keeping up with what's going on in the wake of the George Floyd murder? And there was, I think, a minute of silence, and then we started talking. And Lionel, I'll let you pick it up.
So I'll take it back and then bring you to that question of, have you all been following what's going on in light of the George Floyd situation in Minnesota? So I have been here for 3 years, and my role is philanthropy, and which is amazing. It's fun to be able to sit down and talk to people and businesses and grants and companies about supporting our youth and telling them our story. I mean, I love what I do. And I've been doing it for a long time, and I've done it in a lot of different environments. And I've been in environments where I was the only Black person on the leadership team, and I knew that every day. And then I've been on teams where I was the only Black person in a leadership position, but it never crossed my mind. And from the day I came to VHBG, it never crossed my mind. It just didn't feel, I mean, it felt really warm, really diverse. And so when I came and I looked across campus, I saw we were winning in terms of diversity. And then we were winning in our administrative team because of the feeling of it. So was and is very very happy with where I am and my colleagues and stuff like that. And so fast forward to what happened in May with George Floyd. For me, that was, I think for a lot of people, it was the kind of the wake up or the big thing that hit the screen. For me, it was another one, because there was a really tough one for me 3 years ago, that when I worked in a different environment, and that was really hard to deal with. So in my mind, I had the assumption we were not going to talk about any of that at work. So when Claiborne asked that question, the pause for me was, there were just a lot of feelings that I was going to share my feelings with people who I felt like I knew and trusted. And that was going to be a really different experience for me, because I had been through it before, where not even one of my colleagues walked into my office when the guy had been killed on Facebook Live in the driver's seat of his car with his 4-year-old daughter in the back and his girlfriend videotaping it. And it happened, but in my professional life, it was like it never happened. So fast forward to George Floyd, and our president, who's a white woman, says, have you all been following what's going on out in Minnesota? That was just really emotional for me, because again, professionally, for the first time, I was feeling supported in every way. And what that led to, Julie, I heard you mention anti-racist. That's a really powerful statement. So what it led to for us as a team was really hard conversations. And after the first day, I remember texting Claiborne. We were doing our Zoom calls every day at 9. And the very next day, I could not get on that phone call. I couldn't do it, because I was feeling so much love and support that I knew that I wasn't going to be able to hold it together in front of my colleagues. So I text Claiborne and said, I'm just not able to get on this phone call. And so I didn't. But it was for all the right reasons. It was for all the right reasons. But I will share this in the spirit of anti-racism and development and diversity and moving forward. Is I really feel, and I've shared this with our team, is that the key to it is having the heart, the bravery, the willingness, and the desire to initiate and have and participate in hard, uncomfortable conversations. You do not have to know what to say, and you can start the conversation by saying that. In my previous place of employment, it would have been great for one of my white colleagues to just walk in into my office and say, listen, I don't know what to say. I don't have the words, but I just need you to know I care, and I'm here. If you want to talk, let's talk. If you're not able to, I get that too. And you're going to need to say that at times to people you work with, or a Black neighbor that you don't have a relationship with. It's time to start it. And I'm grateful for where I am and who I work with to be able to have those conversations.
I just have to say, as you can see how difficult this can be. And I owe Lionel a debt of gratitude for what he's been willing to do to put his heart on the line and help us. And I've told him more than once that how much he has helped all of us on this journey we're all at different places on our journey of understanding the issues behind the social injustice and our personal feelings and our personal perspectives. We've got to keep on this journey. And Lionel, through what he has shared, has taught our team so much, has taught me so much, has opened my eyes to things that I have said, I feel like I have lived in a parallel universe to many, many people who are in marginalized minorities. I just didn't know. And you gotta know if you're gonna make changes to things. And that I'm so grateful to Lionel for helping all of us along on our journey when it causes him a lot of pain to be helping bring us along. It's painful, and I know you can see it and hear it. So thank you, Lionel, once again. I will say just, I know we have just a couple more minutes before we want to open it up to questions, that as beneficial and wonderful as it has been to have these conversations in our leadership team, shortly after the George Floyd murder, we wanted to make sure that we opened that type of conversation opportunity up to everyone on our staff at Virginia Home for Boys and Girls. So we did something, we sent out a Zoom invitation to every single staff person about a week later and said, we want to have a conversation. We've been having really meaningful, heartfelt, difficult conversations as a leadership team, and we want to invite you all in to have these conversations. Join us if you want to. You don't have to talk. You can just listen. But this will be a safe place to say what's on your mind or ask questions. And so we did that a couple of times. And I know we had at least a couple of people who got on there just out of curiosity or just out of shock that an organization was going to have this conversation with anybody who wanted to be a part of it. And we had people share some very, very personal things, painful things about their past. And we had people say things, and people challenged people who said certain things. Again, I'll tell a story on myself. In the first of those two Zooms that we did, I said, man, this is so discouraging to be where we are now, when I thought things from a racism perspective had gotten better. And quickly I learned how wrong I was to say that. How not to say it, because I was saying it from a perspective of ignorance. I really truly thought things had gotten better, but I don't live in the world that experiences it every single day. And so someone spoke up and respectfully said, it hasn't gotten better. You're just now seeing it on TV. And so that's part of that journey of learning the things that you don't know and you have no idea. We've got, the only way you can learn is to ask and be willing to listen. So we did that a couple of times and encouraged our staff to have age-appropriate conversations and emotionally appropriate conversations with the kids that we work with. So our challenge now as an organization is to try to continue to have these conversations. It is, and to keep promoting and protecting a culture throughout VHBG that is respectful, that seeks understanding, that values everyone for who they are and how they're different. We've incorporated a diversity and inclusion moment now into our all staff meetings, and we try to focus on the positive aspects. And so in our last one, we invited people to share just an aspect of who they are that other people might not know about them, but that might be something that helps them identify individually. Just maybe it's a job you once had, or an experience that you've had. Didn't have to focus on the negatives of the negative aspects of racism, or even just harassment, or anything else. Just, we're all different, and let's celebrate that. So I think, Lionel, you want to add anything else? You can open it up for questions.
I'll jump in here. For the last 5 years, my family, which is my wife, myself, and our sons who are 4, 6, and 9, have been going to a church that I always called my church. I'm gonna pick up the kids, they're at our church, or stopping by my church. I always said that, even though it was frustrating every Sunday when I would stand up during certain parts of the service where they asked, everybody to stand up and go greet someone you don't know, or that type thing. And I would look around and there's 400, 500, 600 people. And in terms of people that look like me, there's 4 or 5 people. And that might be happening in your church as well. And what I need you to hear is, loneliness is not the absence of people. You can be lonely in a group. Loneliness is the absence of meaningful interaction with the people standing around you, or people you have access to. There could be people, Black people in your church, who are starving for somebody to come up and ask them questions, how they're doing, their opinion. And like I said, you don't need to know what to say. You just need the courage to go up and sit beside a person you don't know and say, listen, I've seen you here for quite a while. My name is Mark Smith, and I am just curious to know your perspective when you walk in this church. Are there things we could do better, or can we get you involved in groups? Start conversations. I am no longer, I have not been to the church I formerly called my church in months, and I do not plan on going back. My family has gone back, but we're in the process of finding another church. Now, there have been lots and lots of other things. The Sunday after the George Floyd murder, there was not a word said from our pulpit or from anybody standing on the stage in front of people. Not a word. Not, let's pray for the officers, let's pray for the city, let's pray for the victims, let's pray. It was not mentioned. And that has happened before, and I've shared that, and that was the final straw for me to tell me it's not my church. Stop saying this is your church. It's not your church. Go find a church where you feel like you belong. And you could have people in your church feeling that way. They're not going to come up and say it. They're just going to leave. Now, I've told my church that I do not want to be involved in the church anymore. I will find another place. My family loves it. It's a tough time. My kids love the church. My wife fits in. I've never felt like I fit in. You might have people in your church that feel the same. Talk to them, or they'll disappear, or they'll just come and sit for years. Start the conversations.
I think that's the bottom line message. Start the conversation.
Yeah.
That's how you have to begin. Okay. Thank you guys for letting us tell you about our journey as an organization, and we're happy to take questions. Should we just go through the chat?
I'll do it for you.
Okay.
So for there's some things that have been asked more than once, but
Okay.
First of all, Lionel, there's been several people, as you've been talking about your church, who have said, please come and join us at our church. We are doing so much and are working so hard to try to be anti-racist and raise our awareness. And so I'm sure Miranda can talk to you about that, but I bet it's flooding in. So, so please consider us
Thank
for
you.
your new home.
Okay.
All right, so let me go back to some previous questions. And part of the questions are, how have you taken what you've learned at the leadership level and having those difficult conversations, and how does that trickle down to the children that you're working with? How does it raise their awareness, and how are you discussing with them sort of the changing society, if you will?
Right. Yeah, and we definitely want to do that. I should say, when I mentioned that we had encouraged staff in, say, the group homes to have age appropriate and emotionally appropriate conversations with these kids, our children, our youth, are on various levels of emotional stability, or really instability. And so we have to be really careful. So if there were a couple who did go down to the Lee Monument with staff, and as long as that's all put into context for them, we have to know our kids really well to know what subjects that we can broach with them that they can handle. But one thing that we do and have done for a number of years to have conversations about race, it wasn't necessarily George Floyd related. We celebrate Black History Month. We do it across campus, but have a big month-long celebration in our John G. Wood School. And there's artwork that's done around it. There's history lessons, and it culminates with a luncheon, and where Black heritage is celebrated. And the luncheon this past year was so amazing. We had staff and students reciting poetry that they either that was meaningful to them, or they had written, or singing songs, or giving tributes. So there's just a lot of encouragement for our staff and youth to interact on tough subjects all day long, and those range from the child's mental health and their past trauma to issues that are socially important. So there's just a lot of good conversation going on.
So I'll go back to one of the questions, a couple of questions, go back to your core competence, which is trauma-informed care. And what does that look like at Virginia Boys and Girls Home?
Okay. So trauma is a very difficult subject to deal with because it manifests itself in so many ways. Children who experience trauma early on in their lives, it affects the way their brain develops. And it generally manifests in behavioral problems, emotional instability, mental health issues. When I explain trauma to someone, I think the easiest way to understand how you take a trauma-informed approach is when working with a child to say, you don't ask the child what's wrong with you and why are you acting that way. You say, what happened to you? And let's understand why those behaviors are the only way you feel like you can ask for help, or that you have grown up in a home where you were unsafe all the time because you were physically and emotionally, maybe sexually abused. All you want to do is keep yourself safe. And so you don't trust adults. They approach you and you want to lash out, or you want to kick and hit and spit and throw a chair through a window. It's not that you're a bad kid. It's that somebody did bad things to you. So we know how to talk with children therapeutically to help them open up about that and to help them deal with their trauma history so that they can move past it.
So how do the children come to you? You mentioned that they're foster children, or at least the video said they're foster children. How do you get referred those children? And basically, what's the age range that you are working with?
Yes. So in our group homes, where we serve kids mostly in the foster care system, those are children between the ages of 11 and 17. And they are referred to us by local departments of social services. So if a child comes into the custody of the locality, meaning that it's not safe for them to live in their family for whatever reason, either Child Protective Services has gone in and removed the child, or a judge has ordered the child out of the parent's custody, then their social workers work with other officials within the locality to determine what is the best placement. Some kids can go right into a foster home, but some children, like the ones we serve at VHBG, have much more severe behavioral challenges and mental health challenges due to their trauma. And what they really need is a highly specialized and therapeutic environment where people are trained to help these kids manage their behaviors. We actually work with an evidence-based approach called the teaching family model, where it's very family oriented in our homes. It's not sort of a clinical sterile type of therapeutic environment. It's a home-like environment that provides therapeutic support. Model, like I said, is evidence-based. It's proven to help these children manage their behaviors. But anyway, that's how they do come to us.
And when the George Floyd murder took place, did you have discussions with the children at the home? I guess many over the last few months, I think as parents, some of us are struggling about how to talk about something like that with our own children.
Right.
And I know that you've got a vulnerable population, but what were some of the things that you found were most important for them to understand? We can take some guidance.
Well, I think this is probably a question better answered by our clinical director, because she's so keenly aware of how children respond to certain triggers and things. And I think it's really, you have to do it on an individual basis. If someone's trauma involved racial harassment or violence, then you probably really want to tread lightly on something like this. So I guess I'm not sure I'm really able to answer this. I'm not in direct care, but I trust that our clinical director, I know she has given, because we did talk about it in our leadership team, really good guidance about when to talk and how far to go.
So Lionel, how did you talk to it about it with your children?
Well, let me say this first. The children on our campus are served by the staff on our campus. So starting with our leadership team, having those healthy conversations, and then initiating the campus-wide Zoom, including all the staff, gave everybody an outlet to have those conversations. And really it was therapeutic, and it was part of a kind of a healing process. So if we can help our staff, they can have healthier conversations with the children we serve. Now,
Sure.
how did I talk to my kids about it? Again, my kids are biracial. My sons are, at the time, 4, 5, and 8. We didn't even use the terms black and white before that. My oldest son, who was 8, would describe somebody to me and say either skin like yours or skin like mom. So there were so many things that I had to explain to him to even, why another man would kill another man and kneel on his neck for 8.5 minutes, why that would happen. And then why people are upset because the man who died had skin like mine, and the man who did it had skin like mom's. And there was so many things to explain that I couldn't. I had to keep them sheltered from it until I could give them pieces of it. And I still have not, because, as a black dad of a biracial kid, one morning we're driving to school and I'm talking about history with my son. And we're talking about the Indians and how they were here. And he asked me, he said, well, how did people with skin like mom, how did they get here? And I answered the question. They were explorers. They came and found new land. And as we're driving, I'm praying he doesn't ask me how people with my skin color got here. I can't answer that on the way to school. And so he didn't ask me that question. And we avoided that, but we've started to have more of those conversations. He's 9. He's in a school where in his class, there's one other kid that has skin like his dad. You know, he needs to be a 9-year-old kid playing with his classmates instead of starting to understand how they're different and how that may play against him one day, how it's gonna play against him one day just because of his skin color. There's too many things that my sons and I need to talk about for me to open that all the way up.
Right, right. Well, let's go back to a question more about the work that you do. You talked earlier about Claiborne, about the housing, or I guess the video said the housing for the kids that are aging out at 18.
Mhm.
And how many children, young adults, are you able to help? And is that on the same campus, a different
Mhm.
campus?
Yeah, they're all on our campus. We were able to convert some townhouses on our campus into apartments for these young folks. There was a time that a lot of VHBG staff lived on campus. So there were several houses and apartments that staff had used. We no longer require that staff live on campus. And so we were able to convert those residences into these programs for up to 12 young adults in the sort of the traditional independent living program for the kids aging out of foster care. And I think 6 in we call it Pride Place at VHBG, the program that serves the LGBTQ young adults.
Okay, terrific. And so maybe a follow-up question to that. Are there any children, when they're referred to you, that you have to turn away?
Mm-hmm. There are. And our homes aren't necessarily always full, and we actually, it's better that way. If we can accommodate 8 children in each group home. We don't like to have any more than 6 because there's almost like a tipping point after 6. To manage 6 teenagers with emotional and behavioral problems in a home is very, very difficult. So the dynamics really shift beyond that. We do turn kids away. There are certain admission criteria that we look at. The teaching family model that I referred to works best when a child, because it's a learning theory-based approach to teaching children how to rethink their behaviors. It works best with kids who have an IQ greater than 70 because they have to have a certain level of cognitive ability. We are not equipped to, nor would it be safe for us to bring children in who are severely mentally ill, actively psychotic, have a fire starter or homicidal background. If they are actively suicidal, we will not accept them because there are places that can serve them better. It's not to say that we don't deal with some of those types of things with our kids who are really troubled, suicidal ideation, homicidal ideation. We know how to deal with that. We know how to help a child self-regulate when they get to the point of perhaps regressing seriously. Julie, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. So maybe one final question, which is, how are you funded and how can we help?
Okay.
So.
I'd love
that. Lionel, I'm tossing it to you.
So with the children that are referred to us, their localities fund a portion of that for their stay, for their healing, food, all of that. The majority of our funding that allows us to stay open actually comes from fundraising, hence the department I am in and the work that the team that I work with, we do. But it comes from, I'm watching my email as we speak. We're having a campaign that's going on right now because the holidays can be a really rough time for kids who are in a group home, or living facilities. So we're running a campaign right now on our website. I'm watching them, getting emails. So there's $25 donors that are popping up, but also Claiborne and I and the team that I work with, we sit down in any opportunity to tell anybody we can of the work that we do. So we have gifts from $20 to $20,000, but we are funded primarily. We get a lot of funding through fees for services that the localities pay, but the remainder of it is, it's the hard work, it's the sitting down, telling people our story in hopes that people will support us philanthropically.
About half of our revenue are those fee-for-service dollars that are state dollars through the localities. But the other half of our almost $7 million budget is philanthropy related. We do have an endowment that will support us, helps support operations. But our fundraising goal this year is $1.5 million, which is a whole lot of money to raise. The fundraising helps us really do things that are over and above what the state would be willing to pay for. You might have noticed on that video, we have a swimming pool, we have tennis court, we have a full gym, things like the culinary arts program in our school. We offer that solely through our ability to raise money to hire a culinary program director, to renovate the dining hall. So all of those things that are over and above, which is a lot when you consider that the state's not going to pay for a child to go to prom, all those things.
Right.
Trying to give these children a childhood.
Right. Well, and just a reminder to all PW women and guests that this is Giving Tuesday. Since you haven't.
Thanks for that, Julie.
Yeah, there you go. So I think at this point, I'm going to roll it back over to Miranda and just close this out. And, so she can thank you for our, wholeheartedly for our, your coming to us with your stories, because the comments are just terrific.
Blair, I'm going to let you roll us out. Thank you so much, Lionel and Claiborne. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
all.
you for the opportunity. We appreciate it too.
Thank you, Miranda. Claiborne and Lionel, thank you both so much for your inspiring message and for the very important work that you do, God's work at the Virginia Home for Boys and Girls. Before I share a bit of a message about God's work and have our closing prayer, Wilson had asked me and others at the church to share a couple of messages. One has to do with the Advent Drive, which will be this Sunday, December 6th, from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. It's a drive-through in the FPC parking lot. One of the stations is for the children and families of Henry Marsh Elementary School. They are in need of some new winter clothes, hats, gloves, scarves, long pants, sweatpants, long sleeve shirts, sweatshirts, and underwear. The specific need for the children seems to be in sizes 8, 10, 12, and 14. And then as far as the rest of their families, just general sizes for adults. They're also asking for coats, while the other items should be new and they don't need to be packaged in any particular way or sorted by size. But the coats can be new or gently used. And they do ask that those be freshly laundered if it's not a new item. So we hope to see a lot of you on Sunday. The other item that's coming up has to do with Christmas Eve. And no, I don't have some fabulous announcement that miraculously the church is going to be open for Christmas Eve. It will be a virtual service, but we will continue the tradition of Christmas poinsettias and music memorials. Those can be ordered online. The deadline to order is December 13th. And on Christmas Eve, there will be woven into the service, as only our magician Rob Collins can do for us, the listing of those who have chosen to honor or memorialize someone with a poinsettia or through the Music Fund. You can go to the FPC website to find this, or it's fpcrichmond.org /poinsettia. And you may physically pick up your poinsettia on December 21st between 9 and 3. Now, what I'd like to close with is something that I found on a recent Advent website, and it's called The Forgotten Message of Advent, Your Work Matters. Well, we've certainly heard how Claiborne and Lionel's work matters, but I also want to recognize the incredible work that our church is doing. On Sunday, Carolyn Wright, Linda Evans, and I delivered 3 SUVs filled to overflowing with toys for the STEP Christmas store through our Giving Tree project. So I don't know that we fall into this category of this message, but I thought it was an interesting take on Advent. Be watching, be ready, be working. You may hear the first 2 mentioned in a sermon during Advent, but you might not hear much mention of the third, because many have forgotten the importance of our work to God. The Apostle Paul reminds us of this great truth in 1 Corinthians 15. After talking at length about Christ's resurrection during his first coming, Paul turns to a discussion about our resurrection, which takes place after the second coming. In the last verse, Paul reassures us that the work we do makes a difference because of what Christ has done in the past and will do in the future. Paul writes, "Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain." In the work of the Lord, Paul references, this is what we're called to do in our families, our churches, our communities, and our vocational jobs. God has blessed his people with resources, gifts, and talents. Our job on earth is to steward and manage those resources to his glory. What is done in the here and now is still important to God. He gives us these resources so that we can fulfill his call to bring flourishing to his creation. While we cannot perfectly maximize all of our resources, we can still use them to the best of our ability in a way that honors God and serves the common good, furthering his kingdom in the here and now. N.T. Wright develops this theme in his book, Surprised by Hope, which, as you know, is the message for this first week of Advent. He writes, "You are not oiling the wheels of a machine that is about to roll over a cliff. You are not restoring a great painting that is shortly going to be thrown on the fire. You are not planting roses in a garden that is about to be dug up for a building site. You are, strange as it may seem, almost as hard to believe as the resurrection itself, accomplishing something that will become in due course part of God's new world. We are to live like Jesus is coming back tomorrow, but we also have to be willing to wait for him for another 1,000 years. We are watching while we wait. We are to be ready, and we are to be working. Let this not be a forgotten message of Advent." Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, bless the women and men and children of First Presbyterian Church, for they have not forgotten the message of Advent. They have given generously of their resources, their time, their talents, their work, all to your glory, all in the name of your Son, all to further your kingdom in the here and now. Bless each of our members in this holy season of wonder, and may hope, joy, peace, and love reign eternal in our world once again. In the name of the Christ child, amen. Yesterday via Realm, I sent you a link for our post-program Zoom, and I hope in about 10 minutes where we'll reconvene in Miranda's kitchen, that you will join us so that we can continue the wonderful and not feeling at all difficult conversation that Claiborne and Lionel started for us today. Thank you.
Blair, I've put the link in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you, Wilson. Then nobody has to go hunting for it. That's great.
Thank you again very much for letting us be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.